All right. Hey everyone, how's everybody doing? Okay, just getting set up. Let me just double check everything is looking good. Okay, just let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me all right. Um, just give me a thumbs up for video and audio. Yeah, sorry, Vimarsh, no Zoom call this time. We'll be doing predominantly YouTube and LinkedIn, so a lot more folks can usually join in. Uh, all right, perfect, awesome. So thanks everybody who mentioned regarding voice and video. Looking good. All right, perfect, awesome. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in at this late hour. I hope this is not late for folks joining in across the world. Hopefully this is a suitable time. If there is anything during the entire conversation, feel free to actively use the chat option. I'll constantly keep monitoring the chat, be it on LinkedIn or YouTube, and we'll keep picking up questions as we go along as well. Right? Perfect. So first, quick introduction. My name is Mayank Grover. I'm the founder of Outscale. I've been in the gaming industry for more than a decade. I've spent time working with game companies in US, such as Electronic Arts, Dana, Kixeye. With Dana, I was working with one of the very high-profile game project, the Transformers Age of Extinction. And then I moved back to India and started working on a lot of diverse kind of game projects, from real money gaming, casino gaming, mobile MMOs, RPGs, worked with a lot of startups based in Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan. So pretty much every kind of game genre that you can think of, in my sort of long career, I've had the opportunity to sort of touch on these games at some point or the other. So technically, as an engineer, as an engineering manager, as a hiring manager, have been through a lot of ups and downs in my careers. First trying to get in, and then trying to hire a lot of people as well, with companies that were rapidly growing and expanding and launching a lot of new products and projects, game projects as well. So hopefully today I'll be able to share some of that knowledge. I'll be always open to taking up questions. So no matter what kind of questions you have, feel free to drop them in the chat. Do not shy away from asking questions. For some of you, I can see in the chat who might know me, you guys already know that we are a very transparent organization and a community. So just feel free to fire away whatever questions you might have. All right, perfect. So today's call is all about giving a brief introduction about what is Game Academy by Outscale. So just a quick overview. Outscale has been the company that I founded back in 2018. And the core thing that I was trying to solve with this startup was that when back in 2009, 2010, when I started my career as a professional, as a software developer, I was trying to get into gaming. And it was very hard to figure out what kind of steps to take in order to enter into this gaming industry professionally as a professional developer. And essentially, it almost took me 3-4 years to figure that out and get to a full-time job. And for that, I had to go from India to US, leave my high-paying job with D Shaw, become an intern, start from zero. So the journey was long and hard, but it was very rewarding at the end of the day. I got to work with a lot of fantastic people, a lot of great game projects that I briefly mentioned about. And then, once I started hiring a lot of talent from the industry, there was always a constant struggle that there were a lot of people who were passionate about building games, but they never understood what kind of requirements do technical companies and game companies have today when they're looking at talent to build these large scale games, right? Think PUBG, think MMOs, think RPGs, and so on and so forth, right? Like, it's a very technically demanding industry, right? You need to have good amount of skill sets. So we end up not hiring a lot of talent. And that's where I found that there was a lot of talent who were really excited about building games, right? And I'm sure this is the story for almost everybody who's here on the call today, that people are excited about the concept of that. Hell yes, let's make some games. It's going to be awesome, right? Who doesn't enjoy that, right? But at the end of the day, making that journey from thinking that I'm passionate about games to actually having the skills to build games, that's hard, right? And core concept for Outscale was that through a community focused approach, we can bring this knowledge base from more experienced people in the industry, not just myself, but a broader pool of industry experts, and we can diversify that knowledge to get people access to not just learning resources, but also jobs and access to career opportunities in the industry. So that has been a very sort of a fun learning journey across the board. So before further ado, just give me 1 second. I'll jump into screen share. 1 second. Let me set this up. All right, perfect. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up if everything looks good. You're able to see my screen and all. Yes. Perfect. Okay. Looks like you guys are able to see my screen. Yep. All right. Awesome. So Game Academy is something that we have recently launched, and I'll be today walking you through what Game Academy is, how you guys can access a lot of free resources through Game Academy to get upskilled, and also more importantly, how can you get access to jobs, because we are already working with a lot of hiring partners who are here to tap into a lot of kick-ass talent from the industry as well, right? And people who are just getting started as well, both ways, right? There are companies that are hiring at interns and companies that are hiring at, 8 to 10 years of experience across, right? So we already partner with so many companies, and the Game Academy offers that opportunity to get everybody sort of on a same level field and have that exposure to get into the industry. But before we jump into what Game Academy is, we'll play a short game. There are quick set of rapid fire questions that I'm going to throw out, and please just directly put in some answers in the chat. All right. So hopefully everybody is ready. Perfect. So which game was your first love? So I just want to understand which game that is something that you really have very fond memories of, right? Like that you fell in love with the first time when you played it, right? So just let me know in the chat. I'm excited to Halo, Dark Souls, GTA. All right. Okay. Asphalt, Max Payne. Max Payne, somebody mentioned Max Payne 2, but Max Payne definitely is my all-time favorites as well. Model car, Vice City, Cricket 07. Back to the old days. So we have some OG folks, Contra, Prince of Persia, Ramayan Origins 2D, okay, God of War, interesting, Dota 2. I'm surprised there are no League of Legends players today with us. I was at one point a very hardcore League of Legends player, almost playing the ranked levels as well. House of the Dead, Hercules, Halo Reach, Commander. There's nobody. Command and Conquer, Red Alert, old days. No, GTA, NFS. Perfect, awesome. So I can see a bunch of folks with GTA, NFS, Half-Life 2. That's a classic one. God of War series. Perfect. So folks both from LinkedIn and YouTube. Battlefield 1942. Interesting. Perfect. So moving on quickly. Which is your favorite game company? Now, this is very interesting because a lot of people remember a lot of names of games, but usually they have, not much awareness about the companies as well. So Garena, Rockstar, Ubisoft, it's fairly big names, right? Naughty Dogs, Ubisoft again, Gameloft, Ubisoft, Rockstar, CD Projekt Red. That's an interesting one. Nokia. Okay, interesting. Nokia. Valve. Somebody on LinkedIn, Himanshu on LinkedIn mentioned Valve. I love that company. Personally, they've made some really kick-ass games. Santa Monica Studios. All right, perfect. From Software, Santa Monica. Square Enix, GSN, Zynga. Oh, awesome. GSN is actually one of our hiring partners as well. So it's great to see somebody has GSN as their favorite game company. Hopefully through Academy, you'll get an opportunity to directly get interview options with GSN as well. Rockstar, Ubisoft, PopCap, Sony. Sony has a bunch of studios under the Sony umbrella. So if you have some specific names for specific studios under Sony as well, do let me know as well. Yeah. Dark Souls fans, perfect. Awesome. So last question. One game that you can play forever. If you have to pick one game, which one would that be? Praise the Sun. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm not sure I've heard of this one. PUBG. All right. Halo, GTA, WWE. That's an interesting choice. Plants vs. Zombies, Ubisoft, GSN, Gorilla, Apex Legends. Okay, that's good. Assassin's Creed, Rocket League. Oh, I love Rocket League. Yeah, they've made a really nice game. FIFA. Yeah, FIFA. It's like every year a new version comes out, so you're kind of cheating. You're not picking one game, you're always picking like a series of game. Sekiro I have to check out. I've heard a lot of good things about Sekiro, and a lot of people, even including within the Outscale team, have also mentioned Sekiro as a very good option. NFS Most Wanted, Total Overdose, Dota 2, NBA. This is from LinkedIn. So awesome. So there's a good variety and diverse. Black Flag, Assassin's Creed. So there's a good variety of folks who have sort of, a lot of diverse taste in games. So that's great to see. Hopefully, you guys will transition into actually becoming developers or continuing to pursue your career in the gaming industry. All right, perfect. So thank you for taking the time to, give me those answers. Really interested to see how diverse the audience set is today. But without further ado, let's jump into what is Outscale Academy. So before we can go further, right? Outscale Academy is directly available at academy.outscale.com. So you can just hit this URL anytime. For now, I'll just quickly request everybody to just stay focused on the screen. You guys can follow this process later. But academy.outscale.com is essentially where Outscale Academy / Game Academy is what you can find, right? And here is the opportunity for majority of you to sort of get familiar with the gaming industry, understand what it takes to succeed in this industry, whether you're already a working professional or you're just getting started. There's opportunities for everyone. And, if you have absolutely zero knowledge, it doesn't matter. We'll cover how you can get started as well, right? Perfect. So as always, you just need to, go to academy.outscale.com, which will set you up on this welcome screen. You can put in any specific email ID that you use, primary email ID, set up a password, and simply create an account. So if you have not created an account, you can just go to the register page and same again, 2 options and register. I'm already registered with this email ID. So I'll move over to the login screen and simply log in. So once I log in, you will basically come to the home screen where you'll see 2 major categories. Now, before we jump in a little bit further here, let me just take a step to quickly sort of explain what these 2 broad categories are. So in one side, you have access to sort of job opportunities, and on the other side, you have access to upskilling, right? Upskilling essentially sort of refers to where you can go in through a lot of courses that we have and sort of access a lot of these free learning resources in order to understand how to build game projects. And these will range from easy difficulty level to intermediate to even advanced as well. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, perfect. So the idea behind Academy was so that people have one specific place to go to as their go-to place in order to, be one platform for everything related to the gaming industry. And that's what Academy / Game Academy sort of stands for. And we'll continue to sort of, expand the scope of Academy in future as well. But before we jump into the job specific section, I want to quickly take you through some of the success stories that we have already seen within Outscale. So there have been a lot of people. So this is just the outscale sort of LinkedIn page. And if we just scroll down a little bit, a lot of people have usually doubts that am I able to build a successful long-term career in the gaming industry? Are there even enough jobs in the industry, right? A lot of people who are just about to get in have these kind of doubts in their mind. And usually my response is that since I've lived long enough in this industry, I've seen a lot of people come in and leave as well. But if you are really passionate about the aspect of building games, if that is something that excites you, right, and you are intrinsically motivated to continue to do that, trust me, you will have a successful long-term career here, right? And CTCs and like the actual salary that you make, the actual kind of projects that you work on, all of that is limited only by your skill set, because there are a wide set of companies in the industry that will range from very low salaries to extremely high salaries as well. And majority people do have this perception that gaming industry does not have high salaries, which is absolutely not at all true. And we can talk more about this specific topic if you guys are interested towards the end of the call in an open Q&A, all right? But here you can see, right, like this is just 1 week ago, one of our members from our clans, Sai Harish, got recently placed with Arc Web Solutions, and he's now working on an NFT cryptocurrency-based project, building some web-based games as well, right? So Dipta Paul recently got placed with Godspeed Gaming. Godspeed has been a sort of a long-term hiring partner with us. They've hired multiple candidates. I think there's another one that recently got placed. Jay got placed as well recently. These are a lot of people that have graduated at different phases in their career. Most of them, these are more recent one. Gaurav comes from a very humble background, and most of these candidates are coming from tier 2, tier 3 kind of backgrounds. They've gone through the academy, and the steps that I'll be showing you, right? Like majority of them, they have been able to successfully either upskill themselves and get into the gaming industry, or transition from a non-gaming industry and enter into the gaming industry as their first career choice as well. So you guys can go through this list. I'm not going to bore you to or this thing. So feel free to jump into the Outscale LinkedIn handle, and you'll be able to find a lot of these aspects there. But before we jump into the job section, I have one quick question that I want to ask you guys. Have you ever applied for a game dev job role, right? Just drop a yes or a no in the chat, because now we'll be talking about more developer focused option. So I want to understand if there are folks in the audience today with us who have already applied for gaming specific roles. Yes, yes, yes. I can see a bunch of yeses coming in. No. Okay. Okay, yep. Okay, I can see a lot of yeses actually. So that's really interesting to see that a lot of people have had exposure to applying for jobs. So hopefully, once we get to see Academy, you'll be able to understand how this can sort of ease out the process. And for those who have not applied for a job in the gaming industry before, doesn't matter whether it's for a developer or a pro or a producer or whichever role you might have applied for, right? We want to make sure that the process becomes more streamlined and you get to sort of interact with a lot of different opportunities, whether it's a QA role, whether it's an art role, a design role, a music role, engineering role, doesn't matter what the case may be, okay? Perfect. So once you go into the job section, right? Here's now the fun part, right? So there are a bunch of tests that you can see here, and just stay with me, right? Don't get scared by the word test. There are a bunch of these tests, and essentially the way these works are, these evaluations are structured so that you can assess where do you rank in terms of industry standards, right? So these are very sort of straightforward multiple choice kind of questions. Some of them are text-based questions, but most of them are multiple choice questions. You can click on any test and just say start test. It'll pop up on a question. There's going to be 10 questions in each test. On average, each test takes about 8 to 10 minutes, maximum kind of 12. So you can go through these tests fairly quickly. And once you complete this test, within 1 minute, you'll be able to see your score here. So if I scroll down, because I'm logged into my account, you can see this is just a dummy score. I've scored 23 here percent. I've scored 45 here, and I was just taking these tests, so I'm not usually that bad. Okay, just so you know. And here I can see I've scored like 76%. So this will give you some sense of where do you stand in the industry. And the way we have put these tests together is that a lot of companies that are hiring, we already partner with them and we understand what kind of skill sets that they're looking for, right? So when we see that a company that is hiring, say, for a Unity developer with, say, 1 year experience or 0 to 2 year experience range, a more entry-level developer, etc., right? We already understand what are the kind of things that they're going to look for, right? They're going to look for your knowledge about the Unity game engine, right? They're going to look for your knowledge about object-oriented programming concepts, which are fundamental to any kind of programming role, right? They're going to look at slightly more, data structure level concepts as well, which is again very fundamental to computer science as well, right? For people who are coming from non-programming background, when you create your profile for the first time, it will present you with an option to put in whether you're looking for programming roles or non-programming roles. If you choose non-programming roles, in that case, you do not have to worry about going through these technical assessments as of now. You can just go in, complete your job profile. Here, it will ask you more about like your resume, your portfolio. You can provide links to your personal website where you might have some project posted. Choose what kind of projects you want to work on, what kind of companies you want to work on, etc., etc. So once you have that details with us, we can then connect you with the right kind of companies that would be looking for your skill set. So in this way, our hope is that we give community members who are interested in continuing to pursue their career in the gaming industry, or they wish to transition from non-gaming industry into the gaming industry, whether it's their first job or they're already a working professional and they want to switch over. This becomes your entry point. You complete some of these tests, gives us a good understanding of who you are and where you stand in the industry, compared to what the talent level is in the industry already. And then we can advise you better on what next steps to take, whether you should go in for direct introductions to the companies, whether you should be looking at upskilling by doing some weekend projects within the community, and so on and so forth, right? What would be the best course of option? We can recommend that. So for example, right here in this Unity project, I've already scored 76%, which is fairly good, right? So I do not need to retake this test. But on certain tests where I've scored fairly low compared to industry average you can assume is somewhere around 65%. Okay. So because I've scored fairly low here, right? Either I can go study some more and then come back and reattempt. There is no limit on how many times you can reattempt, but you can continue to reattempt as many times as you like. And once you hit that 75% threshold, right? After that, you don't need to reattempt because you've already proven that you understand the concepts associated with this particular topic. So hopefully that makes sense. If, for example, you're that after completing an evaluation, like for example, I'm just starting in my programming journey. I know that my skill set when it comes to object-oriented programming is fairly weak, and the test has given me about 23%, which is, again, I already know this, right? So there's no point for me to reattempt taking this again and again, right? In that case, like the upskill link will directly take me to the upskilling section and present me with certain options and what kind of projects I can go through in order to get my skills better, come back and retake this test, right? So hopefully this gives you a structured way to go through important topics and important subjects that get covered in the industry. And most of these are things that are consistent both at the junior level as well as the senior level. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to just quickly run through the chat to see if there are any important questions that I might have missed. Okay. Piyush, if you can help me as well, if there are some questions, because I can see there's a good amount of chat that I'm definitely might have missed here. Okay. Bharat is asking, does outscale have internship programs? Yes, there are a lot of hiring partners that are hiring for interns as well. And usually internships are a best way to start as well early on in your career. So definitely do go through these tests and evaluations, and you will be eligible for internship opportunities with our hiring partners. GSN is definitely one that has internship opportunities. And the best part is, once you go through this evaluation, our team will be able to get in touch with you and directly connect you to not just one, but multiple companies where you might not have connections, you might not have a direct reach. If you just sit on LinkedIn and Naukri and apply, most of the time you're not going to get heard back as well, right? Because the companies would be either getting a lot of applications. So our focus is to curate which are the best opportunities for you, and then send you to those companies so that you always hear back, get feedback on your applications, so that you can continue to improve and grow from there as well. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And a lot of people would be surprised as to how much things like data structures and algorithms and object-oriented programming concepts matter when it comes to especially technical interviews, right? For non-technical interviews, obviously, these are not the right topics, but for technical interviews, you'll be surprised how much, even for senior and lead level roles, this is a very sort of very hardcore topics that you would go through as dedicated interviews. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Looks like there are a couple of other questions. Should I keep learning Unity or switch to Unreal? So that's usually a very good question when people are thinking about what to try and sort of master, or what I should continue sort of focusing on. My general rule of advice here is that you need to build depth, vertical depth, and not breadth. What I mean by that is that if you spend 1 month on Unity and then switch to 1 month on Unreal, then switch to 1 month on Phaser.js, switch to another Cocos in another 1 month. If you have 4 months of time, if you spend 4 months of time in Unity, your depth of knowledge on Unity is going to be much, much higher compared to spending 1 month each on 4 different game engines, right? So if you just want to write, I know, Unity, Unreal as keywords in your resume, sure, you can spend 1 month each. But the moment you go to a technical interview and they start asking you deeper questions about either Unity or Unreal, and you're not able to answer that, immediate rejection, right? So it is always good, especially early in your career. When I say early in your career, I mean 0 to 4 years roughly of your experience, right? So if you have a complete somebody who has absolutely no experience versus up to at least 4 years of professional working experience full time, right? Within that range, you should stick with one engine and try to master that. One programming language, try to master that and build sort of strong supremacy in that language so that you can continue to mature from there as a senior engineer. Okay, hope that makes sense. Doing masters in game development, is it worth it or not in terms of growth and salary? In today's day and age, absolutely not worth it, for 2 primary reasons. One, majority of the master's program are not directly structured to be working in tandem with the industry. And what I mean by that is that because these are degree/diploma based programs, right? They have a lot of constraints in terms of what kind of a curriculum they can cover and how do they want to cover that, right? And whereas if you have a laser focused approach, right? So for example, I'll talk about a program that we have slightly later called Full Stack Game Developer Program, right? It's a 7-month program on average. It's laser focused towards what companies look at when hiring for engineer with 0 to 2 years experience, for example, right? So if you are looking to forward your career, whether you are 2 years experience, 3 years of experience, and you feel that you have hit a limit in terms of your career growth, and maybe doing a master's is going to give you an opportunity, that is absolutely not going to be the case, because today industry will evaluate skills more than anything else. And as a result, going through a master's program that doesn't give you a lot of skills is not going to be worth it, right? You can acquire the same kind of skills easily in a very different environment without spending 2 years of more or less your time, right? Most of the programs will be 2 years as well. So not just the money aspect of going into the program, which are usually fairly expensive, but also 2 years. I think that's the biggest disadvantage of master's program today. You can compress that learning time, and especially after COVID, where now learning is more flexible of online, offline, etc., right? You do not need to spend 2 years into a master's program. That's my general rule of advice. Okay. Some companies use HTML game engines. Are there any courses for that in Outscale? Unfortunately, no. We do not focus heavily on HTML yet, because, and here's why that's the case, right? Here also, if you see, there's data structures, there's object-oriented programming, and then there's Unity. If you have understood these three, right? I'll come back to programming patterns separately. If you have understood these three, and you have mastered these three essentially, right, then you have built a very strong foundation, right? And what I mean by that foundation is that tomorrow, if your company asks for you to quickly switch into Unreal because they want to try out Unreal for a new project or something, you will be able to. Why? Because you understand one game engine very well. In this case, let's say Unity, right? At the heart of it, all game engines work on same principles. The language that they might be using might be different, but the principles of how a game engine work, how the physics work, how collisions work, conceptually remains the same. So if you have understood the ins and outs of an engine once, you'll be able to transfer that knowledge into another engine. If you're able to master object-oriented programming, that means your fundamentals of programming principles are correct. Things like inheritance, abstraction, overloading, overriding, all of these core concepts that are fundamental to computer science and any programming language, right? You have mastered these. So if you are working in Unity, which is C#, you switch over to Unreal, which is C++, you'll be able to take majority of your C# knowledge into C++ in no time, right? And again, the same applies for data structures and algorithms. For solving any kind of real world problems and real world projects, you'll be able to master that via, the right data focused approach, right? So we might introduce some more HTML focused programs down the road, but if you master these, this is the sort of the philosophy, again, 0 to 4 year experience range. If you fit in that category, this is the philosophy that you want to follow, which is master the fundamentals. You'll be able to transition into something aligned very quickly. You do not need to do sort of more specific for that itself, right? It's all about the fundamentals, which a lot of people sort of overlook. Okay, perfect. So I can see there are a bunch of more questions, but I just want to cover more sections quickly. So let me come back to questions in just a minute, but keep throwing them in the chat, okay? We'll keep picking them up as I take more pauses in between. All right, perfect. So okay, so sorry, I missed mentioning one more thing here. So once you have completed these assessments, based on your score and evaluations, our team will directly reach out to you. Keep a lookout on your email IDs that you've logged in with and created an account with, and our team will be able to then directly help you understand where you stand in the industry and what kind of companies that we can directly connect with you, and potentially even discuss some of your potential sort of upskilling opportunities that might be accessible for you as well. Okay, perfect. So before we move forward, one quick question I want to ask, and again, we'll repeat the same thing. Quickly drop in your answers in the chat. I think we already covered this one. Have you ever appeared for a game development interview? So the previous one was more about sort of, understanding whether you have applied, but have you ever appeared for an interview? Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, I can see a bunch of yeses and nos, so mix. All right. Jumpstart games, okay. Yes, no, yes. Companies closed, but yes. Yeah, I think if you have appeared for an interview, that's okay. Perfect. So you said some of the people that have mentioned yes already and have appeared for an interviews would probably be able to relate to sort of the things that I've sort of mentioned. Somebody is mentioning they want fresh graduates, not students. Yeah, so just hold on, right? Like but for students, there are a lot of internship opportunities as well. So do not get disheartened. Definitely go through the evaluation process, and based on the rankings, we'll be able to connect you with even internship opportunities as well. Okay. So before jumping into the upskilling section, I want to love to know that do you guys have any game projects in your portfolio? Right? Portfolio is basically your resume, your website, wherever you might be throwing your projects to showcase, whether it's GitHub or ArtStation or any website, doesn't matter, right? Do you have projects if you're applying to companies? And a lot of people who said already yes, right? If you have applied to companies, mostly you would have some kind of a portfolio. Yeah. Not on website. I have ideas too. Yep. Okay, perfect. So I can see there are yeses, but as you can see in the chat, there are less number of yeses compared to previously. So this is something that is super important when it comes to the gaming industry, and something that's fundamentally different from the rest of the tech industry broadly. If you're applying for software roles, UI, UX roles, etc., right? Even UI, UX and design roles in the tech industry need sort of a portfolio. But when it comes to programming roles, you do need a portfolio. A portfolio is just a collection of projects that showcase your skill set. The collection can be on websites like GitHub or ArtStation. It can be on your own website that you have created for free or paid, whichever case may be. Doesn't matter. So where you put your projects doesn't matter, but having your projects is sort of super important. Okay. So going back into Academy, so either you go through the test section and then have this link to Upskill, or you can directly go to Upskill and check out some of the programs. So I'll come back to this full stack one that I briefly mentioned and the Unity Advanced in a bit. But here, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see these couple of projects that are already available. And we do want to continue adding more projects down the road. So we'll be taking requests for what kind of projects you guys want to love, but we know some of the projects that are very interesting and are upcoming in the pipeline as well. Okay. So here, a quick sort of an overview. So for people who are just getting started, right, might not have a good understanding of programming language, building your first sort of text-based adventure game is going to be a good place. This is a C++ based project. And essentially what you're doing here is that all you're saying is join clan. The moment you join clan, you get access to that particular project. And now you can start going through the videos here and so on and so forth. As you can see, I've already gone through the project previously. So on the left, you guys can see my, the entire course catalog here. And if you can see that I've marked, like, if you see this green icon right next to each of them, all this means is that I've completed that project essentially, right? So for you guys, everything will be locked. This will be open. Once you mark this as complete, or you've watched the video, marked it as complete, and then the next one will automatically get unlocked. Let me quickly show you in another project as well, because this is my account that we have logged into. Essentially, everything is marked as complete. Okay, here also everything is marked as complete. So, okay, we'll not worry about that right now. But essentially what this means is that first time when you're going through these projects, essentially you will only have the first item at the top unlocked. And these three projects are something that you can start going through today. So text-based adventure game for people who are just getting started, might not be super comfortable with programming. This is the first, most sort of simplistic project that you can start building your first game with. It will give you a strong taste for C++ and building a game. From there on, you can start migrating into a more intermediate project, which will be your sort of first project to get your hands dirty with Unity game engine. So Mr. Blocks is a Unity-based game project. You'll start to figure out what physics is, what collisions are. Again, for people who might already be familiar with Unity, this might be a slightly straightforward project, but I would still encourage you to at least go through this list and see if there are things that you might not understand, especially after setting up sort of things such as how do you set up a level UI, how do you understand sort of the core workflow and the core sort of a loop of the game, and so on and so forth. Okay. But for people who have already some experience, going through the game development industry might then have some projects, Pick 4, etc. This is going to be something that you'll enjoy, right? This is one of the advanced level projects which focuses on things such as programming patterns. Now, this is fairly intermediate to advanced level topics, and these are the topics that essentially separate more novice from professionals, right? So when you follow a lot of sort of more simplistic tutorials, say on YouTube, the goal for YouTube videos is to sort of give you a quick taste of what game development is all about. But the focus there is not to focus on advanced level concepts that are used professionally in the industry. So how to implement skins in a battle tank project, this will focus on a very core important concept called MVC, which is model view controller design pattern. Sorry, last couple of days I'm not well, so I'm like kind of filling up a little bit. So model view controller is a very important sort of a design principle, and this is just one of the many sort of programming patterns that get used in the industry. And essentially what a programming pattern is, that it gives you a taste of a particular kind of a solution for a specific category of problems. So once you understand this MVC, model view controller, right, you'll be able to apply this to a wide category of solutions when there is a specific type of a problem involved. In this case, in games like PUBG, Free Fire, where there is a lot of hats and skins that you're kind of unlocking and so on and so forth, like generally speaking, this is what gets you started with those kind of things as well, right? Like it helps you implement those things correctly so that your game tomorrow can accommodate thousands and thousands of skins in a professional game environment, right? You cannot just be sort of going around duplicating a lot of copy and paste. Those kind of approaches usually don't work when it comes to large scale game projects. So hopefully these three projects will give you a little bit of a taste of what to expect, both at sort of like entry level and something at the advanced level as well. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let me quickly scan through the questions. Akshay is saying MVC made me leave the starter course as it doesn't make sense for a small game, but learned a lot. Yes, 100% agree. Some of these advanced concepts are an overkill when you're building a very small game. If you're building, say, like a Flappy Bird kind of a game, these advanced level projects, or sorry, these advanced level programming concepts will not be relevant at all, right? So this is something, as you mature as a programmer, you start to understand and learn that what kind of concepts you want to apply in what kind of projects. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, thanks Akshay for sharing that. Okay, I can see there are some artists as well. Okay, all right. So Mohanlal has a question. Let me quickly pick that up. Give us some advice for game designing career, how I can start. Perfect. So good question overall. Just let me know how many of the folks in the chat are interested in exploring game design or are interested in approaching sort of a career in game design, etc. Ashish, yes, these three are completely free. You guys can start working on this literally tonight. And also, we plan to add sort of new projects every couple of weeks and so on and so forth. So we are already working on a pipeline of next level projects as well. Okay, I can see a bunch of folks saying I'm interested in game design. So game design is very different from game programming. And typically speaking, a lot of people sort of mistake sometimes even game design as game art. Artists is basically people who will people who will basically focus on give me 1 second there, sorry. Hey guys, sorry. Last week I was sick with fever and everything, so I'm still kind of recovering. So complete bad throat, etc. My apologies. Okay, perfect. So, when you program to start a career in the gaming industry, yeah, sorry, we were talking about game design. So when it comes to game design, essentially, designing is what you feel about the game, right? Artist is what you see on the game, right? So if you see some animations, if you see some flash effect, if you see some confetti, if you see some jump, etc., whatever you see on the screen is an artist's job, right? However, the game makes you feel. For example, some people mentioned Dark Souls early on, right? It's one of their favorite games. Dark Souls make you feel sometimes frustrated, right? Some games make you feel challenged that, oh, how did I die? I have to complete this level now, right? Some games make you feel sad because they might have a very sad, touching story, etc. So a designer's job is to make you feel something, and artist's job is to make you see something, right? That's a very simple way of understanding what design and what art is, right? So when it comes to design, at the end of the day, there are two things that you can do in order to get started when it comes to game design. You need to implement sort of a mental process to break the games down. So imagine you're playing NFS, right? Need for Speed. It's a car racing game. As a designer, if you want to become a designer, every time you play some part of the game, you have to question yourself. Why did the designer do it this way? Why is this right turn at 90 degree and not 70 degree, right? Why is this curve like this? Why is the maximum speed this much, right? Question why on everything, and you will try to understand the process that the designers of that game would have taken. In Mario, why is the jump only this much and not this much, or not just this much, etc., right? So question every little detail with the why. Why is this game so hard that I die every corner and then quickly start again, right? So ask those why questions, and your brain will start to understand what's really happening in the game, because that's the fundamental thought process that every designer needs to deploy, right? And once you start breaking existing games down as you're playing them, as you're watching YouTube videos of them, and so on and so forth, after that, you can move to sort of phase two, and you can do some of these things in parallel as well, which is you can start building your own game projects as well, right? So you can all start continuing working on your game projects, and that is also something where you can start structuring. Okay, I imagine this kind of a game where you have a 2D platformer, a character is jumping from one place to another, you can reverse time, etc., etc. So you can take a lot of concepts from different games and then merge them into your own game, or just come up with something new, but really detail out every little piece of it, right? That's the game designer's job. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Perfect. So I can come back to the game design question / art question if there is more details. But yeah, I hope this makes sense. So in the upskilling section, basically, you'll be able to go through some of these projects that you can access for free today itself. And we are working on a pipeline for adding more projects down both at intermediate and advanced level. Okay. Perfect. So I think we were discussing a little bit before about what full stack is, etc. So these are sort of our flagship programs that Outscale has to offer. Like we saw earlier in the call today, there were a lot of folks that got placed with our hiring partners as well. A lot of them came from the full stack game development program. So this is typically for people within 0 to 2 years of experience range who are interested in going from whichever level of skill you are, all the way to more sort of a professional level, so that you are eligible to start, applying for a lot of entry level roles in the industry, anywhere between the 0 to 2 year experience range as well. So full stack, basically, here also in full stack, you will have basically a preview option. So this is our paid offering, just to be very clear. I'm not trying to, position this as a free offering or anything. This is a dedicated 7 to 10 month long program. You get a lot of access to live mentor sessions and so on and so forth. So you guys can go through the preview mode, and the preview mode gives you a sneak peek of what kind of modules, all the way from OOP, C++, Unity fundamentals, data structure fundamentals, Unity advanced, data structure advanced, etc., what are the kind of things that you can go through in order to become a well-rounded game developer, right? So for example, if I go into the Unity Advanced, MVC was just one part of Unity Advanced that we saw, right? In the skins project, right? But here you can see there are different design patterns such as MVC. There are concepts such as scriptable objects, asynchronous programming with coroutines and serialization, implementing sort of state machines. This is typically what's used in a lot of animations, a lot of AI inside games, etc. If you have to implement things like an achievement system, there is a very standard pattern called observer pattern. How do you implement that? How do you apply that and all that, right? All of these kind of concepts that are used professionally in the industry, you can get a sneak peek of some of these things and understand whether this is something as a good fit for you or not, right? So the idea of the preview mode is to give you sort of an exposure. Some of the assignments, some of the study material, etc., is already available here. So feel free to check that out if you guys are interested. But again, before you even think about full stack, or before you even think about Unity Advanced, again, Unity Advanced is for people who already have professional game development experience. Just to be very clear, Unity Advanced is not for anybody. It's only for people who have professional game dev experience. And you can check out the actual full content for the Unity Advanced project as well, similarly, how I just mentioned. And this is aimed at people who are looking to 100% become professionals in the industry, be it they want to start their own game studio and want to seriously increase their skill set when it comes to programming and game development, or they want to say go from an okay job to a really serious job at some top level game studio. They already might be working with some service-based company in the gaming industry and already understand that their skill is not at the level of what some of the top tier studios like GSN, Leela Games, Sumo Digital, and these kind of companies expect, right? So for that, Unity Advanced would be a good choice, provided that you have good grasp on sort of data structures as well. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. See, and the founder is very difficult to get an employee in India. Yeah, actually, I think that's the case with pretty much every game studio. Even, I mean, the whole reason Outscale exists is to change that notion that, we can't get good folks globally and not just from India. India is going to be a powerhouse globally when it comes to game development talent. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense. But again, right, like, there's one very critical component that is still missing, and I'll quickly just cover that. So you can see, we already talked about jobs, we already talked about upskilling, but when you're going through these programs, it's not something, sorry, one last thing before I jump into this tab. For folks who might be interested in full stack / Unity Advanced, whichever the case may be, you can just go through the join waitlist. It's a small form, just sign up, and our team will get in touch with you. Only if you are eligible, you'll get access, otherwise not. Okay. So, but again, please first check out these projects before you even think about full stack or Unity Advanced. Again, Unity Advanced and full stack is not for everybody. For people who are only looking to become professionals. Okay, just want to be absolutely clear there. All right, perfect. So now onto the community. This is probably a very strong third important bullet point in our today's conversation, and probably the last one. Jobs, upskilling, we already covered. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer. The moment you click on community, you'll end up in a different application. So before we jump in there, a quick question for everybody. How many of you are already on Discord or use Discord? So just let me know by yes or no in the chat. So if you use Discord, are already on Discord? Yes, no? Yes, no, I am. Okay, so I can see some sort of mixed reactions. Some are not. Okay, so for most of you who are perfect, the community tab will directly take you to Outscale's Discord community. And let me just cancel my screen share and share it again. And I'll give you guys a quick overview of what Discord is all about. For others who might be completely new to Discord, this is our community platform where you get to interact with a lot of team members from Outscale. You get to interact with a lot of other community members who are professionals in the industry as well, and so on and so forth, right? So once you come in, you'll see a bunch of these sort of things on the left, and just, like a lot of different members on the right as well. So, don't worry, don't get too overwhelmed. Just start with the server rules, go through the announcements. Once you click on choose roles, you'll be able to react to certain emojis and get the relevant roles that you are kind of interested in. These roles are a way for you to get access to certain things. For example, if you're interested in joining Outscale's next game jam, you can react with this emoji and you will have the game jam role. So whenever we drop in an announcement regarding our upcoming game jam event, you will have access / you'll get notified of game jams. And typically you guys can go through this. There are dedicated channels to talk about sort of programming concept. If you're working on C++ projects, you can come into this. It's open to everybody. You guys can ask your questions freely. And there are a lot of strong passionate programmers, developers, artists, designers, folks from even Web3 ecosystem who are available in the community and are very helpful and will be there to sort of guide you throughout the way as well, along with all the Outscale team members as well. So as you guys can see, within the game development, there's already a lot of active sort of discussions happening, people sharing doubts, discussions, and sort of getting a lot of responses from either Outscale alumni or other community members as well. So it's all in all a sort of a place where you can ask your questions when you are going through the projects on Academy. You can actually post your doubts here as well. We'll highly encourage, in fact, that you post your doubts on Discord, because this is the fastest way for you to get responses on your Discord as well. Okay, on your questions. Perfect. So I'll not go through too much about Discord. You guys can check it out. If you guys face any issues, feel free to reach out to us as well on LinkedIn, on direct email, and we'll be happy to answer those questions as well. All right, perfect. So that's pretty much it for today. Hopefully you guys had sort of a good overview about what Outscale Game Academy is, how you can leverage that to the best of your capabilities and knowledge. You can go through the job section, complete these tests, and get access to a lot of job opportunities. We already have a lot of hiring partners in India, and we are soon expanding that to international markets as well. So your same set of tests will be making you eligible very shortly for international opportunities as well, both remote, on-site, and so on and so forth. So definitely, I would encourage you to go through the assessments. Nonetheless, no matter what, whether you do want to go for upskilling or not, that's your call. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that people who are interested in exploring a path in this direction have a way to go about and do that, irrespective of where they are in the industry. Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much it. I'll be available now for taking up questions. Let me just quickly go through the questions that I might have already missed. And okay, someone is saying, I've given the tests in the academy, finished with all of them. One thing I noticed that was it had only Unity tests, but not Unreal. Are you planning to that as well? Yes, absolutely. Unreal tests are in development internally, and they will be coming out soon as well. What qualifies you as a professional Unity dev? What makes you a professional? Is it the amount of games in your portfolio? See, good question. Overall, it's a very vague term that you are a professional in this industry. Essentially, I think about is that you're working with some studio who's trying to build a business from games. And that's where you know that there is a level of seriousness associated with it. And you already have a bunch of team members. Either you yourself are starting that business, you can do that. There are a lot of good game studios getting started. If you have some experience working in the industry, that's even better. But now, if not, and you want to start by just working with the studio, that's sort of, I would classify as what professional really means. If you are working, say, on your own game project, and planning to launch that as a paid application on App Store or Steam and so on and so forth, you're still bringing a level of professionalism because you're expecting some customers to pay for your game, right? So then also I would consider that as professional experience, right? Just that the level of learning that you might get working in a game studio where there are other professionals, maybe who are senior to you, like that learning experience might be different, and versus working on your own thing, the learning experience might be difficult. Akshay saying Game Academy next unicorn. Akshay, thanks for the comments. I hope we get there as well. But our focus is on making sure that, remember, at the end of the day, I was a game developer struggling to try and get in for my first job. And essentially for us, doing all of these initiatives is more of a way for me to wish like these kind of things existed 12, 13 years back when I was trying to get in. So essentially, it gives me sort of humbleness to see that there are a lot of people within our community who are able to sort of leverage the platform that we are trying to build as well. So for the community, by the community, like that's kind of our motto. How difficult it is to get a position with Unreal over Unity? Good question. It's actually not about difficulty of Unity over Unreal or Unreal over Unity. It's more about your skill set matching the skill set of the company, right? So you don't really need sort of, my classical way of sort of thinking about this is that at the end of the day, if you're one person, you're looking out for one job, right? You don't really need 10,000 jobs available in the market to really get a good job, right? Or get a good start to your career or get a good transition into your career, right? Whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, if you know where your skill set is, where your caliber is, and you're the best at it, right? Then companies will essentially hunt you out. Even today, right? A lot of the times, we are not able to meet the needs of the companies, right? Why? Because if you look at web development versus game development, a lot of people go into web development thinking there are way too many jobs available in that market, right? And it's a quote unquote safe bet. Problem is that a lot of people are thinking that, and for every 100 jobs available in the web development space, there are probably 10,000 job applicants, right? So the competition is really crazy. Versus for every 100 jobs in the gaming industry, skilled candidates are usually like 10 or 15 or 20, right? So typically, if you acquire the right skills, then the jobs are actually coming after you, right? A lot of people that have graduated from our full stack program as well and were top of the class, they're getting placed out of the 7-month program, they're getting placed in like 3 months, in 4 months, and so on and so forth, right? Because companies are so eager to hire talent. There is such a lack of talent. There's no educational institution. There's no proper, compared to a BTech, how many MTechs or master's program are there that do something specialized as game development, right? None, like literally none. And one or two that do offer some kind of elective courses, etc. The quality is absolutely not up to the mark in what industry expects today, right? So because of that huge gap, the talent demand is ridiculous, right? And that's why I'm so bullish on this idea that we can help a lot of people get into this gaming industry, provided more and more people know about that these kind of things exist. So that's the idea. Vishnu on LinkedIn is asking, is it important for a fresher to be good in mesh generation or 3D math? Good question. So if you want to be good at programming, you need to have good fundamentals of 3D math, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean mesh generation. Mesh generation is a very specific topic. Not every company cares about that. It purely depends on what kind of game projects that company is working on. So, but 3D math forms a fundamental part of the equation. So you should be decently good at 3D math, but don't worry, this is not the CBSE or board exam level math that you need here. Essentially, you need a very small subset of math topics in order to be good at game development and game programming. So vector algebra, matrices, those are some of the topics that you need to be sort of good at. Understanding angles and 3D angles and those kind of things is what sort of can be helpful for you to become a good sort of a game developer. Shank on YouTube is asking, I'm working as a Unity game developer for 1 year, but now I'm more interested in gameplay designer / level designer roles, will my experience count for a company like Rockstar? Again, because you're asking for a very specific company, I can't vouch for directly the company per se, but here's how generally companies think about this as well, right? So essentially what's happening is that companies would look at your previous experience and how that relates to your new experience. So for anyone changing their domain, for example, going from quality analyst or a tester into designer, or like going from a developer to a designer, when you are interviewing with the company, essentially what you need to do is that you need to sell your skill set. You need to show that a person who has 1 year of design experience and looking to apply for that same job, how are you better at that coming with a programming experience, right? So if you understand what sort of the company needs, you can marry your previous skill set with your new skill set, right? And that way you can be in a much better position. For example, there are a lot of people with art background and QA background who have gone through the full stack program and become developers, right? And typically they come in thinking, oh shit, I have 4 years of QA, I have no engineering degree. Will the company reject me because I don't have programming experience? But my point to them is that you're already working in the industry. You understand how games are made, compared to somebody who's coming in with zero programming professional experience in the industry, but might have a BTech degree. If your skill set is at the same coding level, right? If your skill set is at the same skill set level, your experience is more valuable because you're coming from understanding how games are done in the industry. You understand how teams work in the industry. So you need to sell your skill set in order to make the company buy that skill set, right? If you undervalue yourself, then obviously the company is not going to buy it either, right? So you don't need to undervalue yourself. You need to be confident that you bring more value to the table for the company in order for the company to really value you. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. How do I join the full stack program? Rxify, I just mentioned that you can go to academy.outscale.com, go through the full stack, click on the upskilling and into the full stack option. And then from there, you can just press join waitlist. Okay, there is a waitlist. So unfortunately, you'll not be able to join immediately, but our admissions team will reach out to you in a couple of days and get in touch with you to understand what your requirement is, where your skill set are, and so on and so forth. And accordingly, they'll be able to guide you about the program. Okay. All right. Piyush, if you can just share the Academy link once again in the chat, I think that'll be helpful. Yeah, okay, perfect. So Piyush has already shared the link for Academy. So anybody who needs the link again, please feel free to pick it up from there. All right, perfect. So, okay. I struggle in making procedurally generating things better. For which university you have completed your master's program? Ashish, I went to Carnegie Mellon University. And Carnegie Mellon has a master's program called Entertainment Technology Center. And that's the name of the department, and the program name is called Entertainment Technology, Masters in Entertainment Technology. So I did that for 2 years, but this was back in 2012. So it's been more than 10 years that I've gone there. So it's been a while. I've done BSc in interactive media. Want to get a job in Ubisoft as game designer or programmer. All right, perfect. So definitely just go through the evaluations on the tests on Academy, and we'll be able to see if your skill level is at that mark where you can potentially start approaching companies like Ubisoft and so on and so forth as well. Okay, perfect. So I think let me quickly check LinkedIn as well. What are Bhardwaj is asking, what are some opportunities for game developers in Web3? Perfect, good question. I was expecting there will be some questions around Web3. So thanks, Bhardwaj, for asking that. So there are a lot of opportunities actually. Recently, earlier in the call, I was just showing one of our graduates from our full stack program recently got placed in a studio that's working on Web3 based game projects and NFT related projects. I'm not familiar with exactly what is the game project that they're working on, but it's a web-based game and has a component of cryptocurrencies and NFTs in it. So essentially, see, when it comes to Web3 ecosystem, broadly, what we have observed at Outscale is that companies are hiring two broad skill set of developers, people who are familiar with the blockchain technology and can do things like smart contracts, right on, Ethereum, different formats, and so on and so forth, and people who are, sort of well versed with game engine and game technology. So your Unity engine, HTML5 engines, and so on and so forth, right? So if you're a game developer, there are equal sort of opportunities for you to go to classical game companies, Web2 based game companies, or you can directly go to even Web3 studios as well, right? So kind of both options are usually open when it comes to people who have game development experience. Okay, it's more about, I guess, a matter of taste and preference. Which one do you want to go to? All right. Okay, perfect. So let me see if there are more questions. All right, perfect. So I think that's where we will wrap it up. Thanks again, everyone, for joining in. Hopefully, this was something that you guys enjoyed. If you do find Game Academy interesting / valuable, do definitely share it with your friends as well. And would definitely love to see you guys in the Discord community. I'm usually there as well. Feel free to join in. It's a completely open community. There are private channels for the full stack members and people who are going through the Unity Advanced program. But again, the rest of the community is fairly open and public, so you guys can join in tonight itself and start to see around what's happening in the community, and maybe even ask some questions there. I'll be available, and the entire Outscale team is usually available there, so we'll be able to guide you on your sort of game development journey as well. Perfect. So thanks once again for joining in. That's it from my side today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys building some kick-ass game projects and applying for some awesome jobs as well. All right, take care. Have a fun rest of the night, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.